Hi, everyone. I'm Jeremy Bourne, GrayMatter's brand manager. And next up, I'd like to welcome Aaron Knight from GrayMatter and Jeff Botha from City of Hamilton. Welcome, guys. Thanks for being here at Transform.
Hi, Jeremy.
Hi, Jeremy. Great to be here.
Hi. Yeah, good to have you guys. Aaron, could you start and just introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what you do and your work with Hamilton.
Sure. Well, I'm the territory sales manager here in Toronto office, and I've been working with Jeff at the City of Hamilton on and off for about 15 years now, so we go back a long ways.
Yeah, it's a good partnership. Jeff, tell us about what you do and your work at Hamilton.
So I'm the SCADA superintendent for the City of Hamilton on the Hamilton water side. We deal with the water and the wastewater stream. And I've been working with Aaron and GrayMatter for the last 20 years, in fact, since we put in the new GEI Fix SCADA system.
Excellent. Well, thanks for joining us today. Jeff, we had a chance to talk a little bit before, and I kind of want to just start. We're talking about remote work, obviously, today, and remote access. But I just wanted to kind of start by asking kind of where things were at the beginning of this year in terms of your capability to access systems remotely, in the event that that became necessary, like in an emergency or something. And then we'll kind of get into the evolution of how that's changed in the last couple of months.
So we didn't have a means of working remotely on the system. We had the ability to view remotely through normal terminal server, but that would just be able to see the status of operation, but not to do any control. Hamilton's system is set up so that we've got a manned control room 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, with personnel and staff in that control room operating the system.
So once COVID, started becoming an issue and social distancing was necessary, Aaron, I know that you started a conversation with Jeff about ways that you could approach that so that people could, work from their homes, and not have to be, near each other at the operations center. Can you kind of take us through, how that conversation began?
Yeah, actually, I'd spoken several times with GE about it early on, just trying to come up with what might be our response. But it was a phone call from Jeff that actually triggered the sort of rapid creation of a solution and a program at GE to enable our customers and partners to be able to implement a temporary remote access session for a number of their users. So really, it was the call from Jeff that initiated this into a full-fledged program with GE.
And Jeff, what were you asking Aaron?
So I'm sort of considered myself sort of fortunate with the present situation because my wife is an infectious disease specialist working at McMaster Hospital. So I knew that COVID was sort of coming towards us, and that on the infectious disease side, we'd be looking at sort of isolation, that type of aspect. And we could see this happening in other parts of the world. So I started to prepare the team for having remote access, knowing that maybe we would be in a lockdown situation. And I reached out to Aaron and we had a conversation. And certainly GrayMatter and Aaron stepped up to the plate with GE to help us provide a solution for that remote access.
What did it require, and maybe both of you can weigh in on this, to actually do this, and how quickly were you able to make it happen? Aaron, do you want to go first?
Sure. So my initial response to Jeff was absolutely, although I had to take a big gulp and figure out how I was going to make this happen.
Yeah.
But between a fairly quick call into GE and a fairly quick response, it went straight up the chain to GE's management right off the bat. It was there by the end of that first day. And the approval was sort of verbally accepted immediately. And then it was just a matter of how do we build a program around it to make sure that, we're not doing this just for Jeff, that what we've created here is going to enable all of our customers to have the same type of response capability.
Right, because I mean, pandemic or no, the expectation from, water and wastewater customers is 100% 365 days a year. That's the minimum requirement. So, you want it to be seamless at all times. So Jeff, how did things get started from your end?
So on our side, we realized that we needed to have a secure remote connection that gave us full operational capabilities. So there's a number of steps that we had to take. One, we had to get buy-in from senior management, and senior management at City of Hamilton was totally supportive of the initiative. We reached out to our internet service provider, HCE Telecom. They were able to, in a very, very short time period, put in a secure cloud network to allow us to be able to put the remote connections on. So they set that up with these remote cellular boxes. We got 20 of them. And then we had to also get the hardware, the computer hardware, to run the client view nodes on. So it was a team effort, all hands on deck, and there was numerous parties involved, from senior management to City of Hamilton IT providing the hardware on the computer side, to HCE Telecom providing the secure cloud, with GrayMatter and GE iFix supporting the licensing, etc. Then the SCADA team built the HMI view node operating view nodes, and then we tested, and we actually sort of delivered them. SCADA staff delivered them to the different operators' homes with social distancing. To the front doorstep, and the operators picked the computers up and installed them in their houses.
How quickly to that point, how many days did it take to make all that happen?
I think when we started the first conversations to actually having the first view node deployed was in a period of 10 days, working days.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That seems incredibly fast for any type of, project. I mean, I know that in this case, people were trying to hurry, but I mean, that seems like a pretty quick turnaround.
As I said, it was all hands on deck, and everybody worked very well together. The team worked extremely well together, and we would be able to achieve that short timeline.
Yeah. Did you guys learn anything from this process that would be valuable to other, utilities, that are thinking of expanding their remote work capabilities? Aaron, was there stuff along the way that you learned that you think would be useful to others?
Maybe one of the biggest lessons here was, we shouldn't be afraid to work with our partners. I mean, sometimes it takes a crisis like this to bring minds and different companies with different priorities together. But if in the face of a pandemic, anything's possible, we just have to make sure that we remove barriers that we thought might have existed and make sure we ask those questions that we need answered.
Yeah. Jeff, what about you? Were there some things that you learned along the way that you think would be useful to others?
I think having, as Aaron said, the strong partnership, having that legacy partnership, and being able to have confidence to be able to reach out for support and achieving that support. I think that's really vital. Mm-hmm. And again, it's just a team, and everybody stepped up to the plate.
Have you gotten feedback from operators about how it's working, how they're able to perform their jobs from home, Jeff?
I have. They do like it. I think it's a morale boost for them. A, that they can work safely. B, that they can work and they can work efficiently. The only complaint I have got is some of the space that's taken up in different individual homes. Sure. Because it's we run multiple screens, so they have more than one screen being able to operate. But otherwise, no, it's all been positive feedback.
So it's kind of like a command console where you've got it all laid out in front of you.
It is a series of screens. to be able to see the operation.
As a leader, how have you changed the way that you do things, when you're working with teams that are now remote, where as before you'd be seeing them in the office every day? Are you meeting more? Are you, being more intentional in how you're getting feedback from people? What are some of the things you've done differently, Jeff?
I think it really has proved that commuting, especially in an OT environment, is possible. People always talk about the normal office telecommuting, but being able to work in an OT environment, an operating technology environment, and being able to telecommute has been great. It's certainly the SCADA staff really, it didn't take them long to come up and fully operational. And we do spend a lot of time in Teams meeting, etc. But we've been able to carry on full. We've just had a 15-day FAT on a system, and it was very achievable. And it also meant that the number of people that we would have had to travel was reduced. And we were able to accomplish probably more smoothly a large-scale FAT using the system as we've deployed it.
Do you foresee applications for this, in the future after, the pandemic? I mean, certainly it's something that you'd want to have on hand if something like this ever happens again. But are there ways that you're thinking about this, to help your operation in other ways?
I think it's really, it's a proof of concept in that. So certainly in the waters industry, one of our concerns is a storm, a large storm occurring. We're seeing climate change, we're seeing more vicious weather patterns coming through. It's given operations the ability to be able to, if an event like that occurs, to be able to reach out to staff remotely and to be able to support the operations during stressful times, emergency times.
Aaron, what about from your perspective? I mean, do you see, especially the water and wastewater industry, as Jeff said, kind of realizing that you can do this type of work remotely, in a secure way?
Yeah, a lot of our customers are set up in a 24/7 operations like Jeff was, and so they were well positioned to work remotely together, where they have a disaster recovery location. But this was really a different type of animal that we're dealing with, where it wasn't about having a backup location, it was about having 20 or 30 backup locations. And so I think water and wastewater, and in fact, utility operators of all varieties are going to see, are going to have to find a path to have a similar type of response if something like this should happen again. The side benefit, of course, being that it shouldn't require a pandemic to be able to allow people to work remotely. It's just as good for dealing with the common cold and flu and saying we can still have people at or doing their work without being at work. It's a more responsible way to live with other humans to begin with. So I think it's going to be a big change going forward, and it's going to take a few people. It's going to take a lot of people to make this work for everybody in their respective configurations and communities.
Right. Jeff, one thing I was wondering about with your operators, when they're working from home, are they mainly in a monitoring role, where if actually something physically needed to happen in the plant, they would communicate with somebody there, or are they able to actually control systems remotely?
So the City of Hamilton SCADA system is very, very in depth. It gives full command and control of the system. So most operations would be able to be carried out remotely. Only if you had to deploy a service or maintenance operator into the field to look at a piece of equipment would you really have to put a staff member into that area. Gotcha. Again, you need staff in the plant. I mean, there's daily checks and sampling to be done. but it does reduce the amount of staff you have to have in an operating area.
And just give me a sense, like, is it a significant amount? I mean, you're able to have like half as many staff members, in the plant, or, what are we talking about?
So a facility like Hamilton runs, we have 4 controllers working normally on the system. So that it means 4 of those controllers can work remotely.
So everybody, that's at least in that role.
In a control role, yes. But it also means that your day-to-day interaction from your senior management staff also changes. Because instead of them going into a control room and having those conversations with staff, and that they can actually see the system remotely and still have those type of conversations with staff remotely.
Right.
So these operating nodes just didn't go to operating staff, they also went to management staff.
So one of the takeaways when we spoke before, Jeff, that I know was important to you was the importance of partnerships, and we did touch on it. But could you kind of talk about what it's like to have a partner like GrayMatter that you've worked with for a lot of years, and in GE, and just have that to rely on, especially when things don't go as planned?
Yes, certainly. GrayMatter, I mean, as I said before, there certainly has been a long-term partnership, and we've had some major upgrades on the SCADA system. One occurred in 2012, and we got a gold key from GE to facilitate that. It's being able to pick up the phone and knowing that you can have that conversation and get action on the other end of the phone. I think that's really important.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Aaron, is it very common to have that, like such a long partnership with an organization like Hamilton? I mean, I know that's the goal, but it seems like it's kind of it's a little out of the ordinary, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, not all long relationships are good relationships, but yeah, this has been a great partnership, and I've got a number of customers since I've been in my role for a long time. I've been really lucky to have a lot of great partners in this, but yeah, Hamilton certainly, like I said, Jeff's never hesitated to pick up the phone, and vice versa. If I need something, even if it's not a sales item, I just need an opinion of someone who's in the field, I'll pick up the phone and call Jeff anytime to just get his opinion on matters.
Well, and with you especially, Aaron, the one thing that I really want to isolate, make sure people understand, is the idea that you were hearing something important from a customer, an existing customer, and you were able to take that and communicate it to another and very important partner, GE Digital, and advocate for them, and say, this is something that we need not only for Hamilton, but for other water utilities that are finding themselves in this situation and need access to, remote licenses immediately. So I just feel like there's a lot of value there, and it's something that people should, I think, recognize.
Absolutely.
Well, Jeff and Aaron, I really appreciate you joining us for Transform. It's a great conversation, and I think that there's a lot of takeaways here for others in water and wastewater, and especially if they're thinking about expanding their remote work capabilities. So Aaron, thank you, and Jeff, thank you.
Thank you, and have a great day.
Yeah, thank you, Jeremy, for putting this together, and great to talk to you again, Jeff.
Cheers now.